Oh, hey up. This episode of Cinema Swirl is brought to you by our supporters over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. $5 Patreon backers get access to our exclusive monthly bonus show, Cinema Swill, where myself and Kevin review some really bad movies. Hey, just between me and you, do you want some more Nick Cage? Well, we've got some over on Cinema Swill. Want some more Robin Williams? We've got some on Cinema Swill. At the time of me saying this to you, there are 14 episodes. There may well be more by the time you're listening to this. If you want to extend your Cinema Swirl experience and get some more full-length, proper episodes of me and Kevin talking about movies, then head on over to patreon.com/Cinema Swirl to find out more and see how you can support your OTPs. Alright, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl! My favourite Minecraft YouTuber is called Brian. It's episode number 59. He does really good videos just about like making a house look nice. Maybe that's all you want to know. That's what I want to know. It's Cinema Swirl! Hey. Hello everyone, once again, it's me, your old pal, Minecraft Kevin Mahan, saddling up with my OTP Sam, looking at all of these juicy movies growing on the branches of the tree in the garden called Hollywood, California. Hey Sam, we're doing some Nick Cage today.
Yay! I love a bit of Cage. Despite all my rage, we are still going to be looking at some films from Nicolas Cage.
And it was a tight vote, was it?
Pretty tight at the top, I would say. So our choices for the Nick Cage swirl were Face Off, Con Air, and Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona was quite far behind. The other two were pretty close to the top, but Face Off took it for this episode.
Yeah, I know that there was some kind of consternation in the comments because I believe there were some people like butting heads because we had the kind of pure cultness of like a Coen Brothers movie coming up with big Hollywood action movies in Con Air and Face Off, and many people rightly looking at, you know, the movies that are on offer and also looking at Face Off and saying, how to get swirled, and I want you to know that I hear you and I understand, okay?
Yeah, we're here for you. We get it, we understand. There were a lot of people saying, you know, why not this film, why not this film? But I think those three represent a pretty good trinity of the man.
He's a hard man to nail down to three, though, isn't he?
And I say this with no expertise because I've not seen any of them. But from what I've gleaned, I think those are the three.
Many people wondering why it's taken us so long to do Nick Cage, you know, here on the Swirl. And I legitimately, when you were suggesting this as the topic for the next Swirl vote, I was convinced we had already done Nicolas Cage for Cinema Swirl, and that was finito bye.
I'm afraid we haven't, Kevin. That content is behind the paywall over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl.
All in all, it's just another bit of content behind the paywall. Hey, Sam, leave those patrons satisfied at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl.
Yeah, we have previously reviewed The Wicker Man. No, not that Wicker Man. This other Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage.
Some top boffin is there thinking, I've got it on my iPhone right now. You've already reviewed. There's many Wicker Men, okay? Yes. Not all Wicker Men are the ones you think they are. So we have dabbled. How would you say you've gotten on with your dabbling and gleaning of Nick Cage?
Well, so the performance that Nick gave in Wicker Man was mixed, I would say.
Peppered with outbursts, I would say.
Peppered with outbursts.
I'm sorry to say that's different from my supper last Friday, which was outbursts of pepper. That was, a really just a punchy sauce that brought the whole thing to life.
Yeah, so I got to see some of the kind of fucking chaos that Nick Cage brings to a role in The Wicker Man, but I also got to see a bit of just kind of, not nothingness. He still has a weird quality to him when he's just being a bit boring. But we did get the famous, how to get burned, how to get burned, how to get burned, not the bees. We got some, iconic Cage stuff.
Punched a bear, punched a lot of women, he was a busy boy in The Wicker Man.
Yeah, he was
outside of that, had you seen much of old Nicky?
The one that jumps to mind that I really, really loved was a film called Adaptation.
Oh!
Which I think was Spike Jonze directing it, and it was written by Charlie Kaufman, and it's this really weird film.
It's a great movie. Really great.
It's very good. And he plays he plays twin screenwriters, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's kind of another strange Nick Cage performance. But
I think if you can play a twin or a double, that makes you a gold tier acting god.
Yeah, I remember that film very fondly and it being very, very good.
So you've not necessarily got like goofy, Nick Cage.
Oh, I've seen him in Kick-Ass. I saw Kick-Ass as a teen, I believe.
Did you see Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance?
No, I haven't seen that.
Just checking.
No.
I'll tell you what, a Nick Cage swill would be a really, really difficult one to nail down, because there's no one we've done before who's got quite the broad spectrum of movies that are considered solid classics, from like actiony kind of popcorn world, and also from decent proper movie world, and also from really bad straight to video nightmare world.
Here's the thing with Nick Cage, so we didn't do a Nick Cage swill. We just did Wicker Man. So we've not actually had a swill vote for Nick Cage yet. But the thing about Nick Cage that I haven't got a handle on is I don't know if he's regarded as a bad or good actor. It's kind of, he's interesting to people. He's not. No one thinks Nick Cage is completely shit, right? And no one thinks he's the best actor in the world. Well, maybe some people do.
I say something. He's one of our most tattooed men that we've had, as in that not he has a lot of tattoos, and that people get tattoos of him.
He's a unique talent. I feel that's true.
I say he has similarities with recent swirly Keanu Reeves for a similar reason, in that I think he is of himself a mountain, an island floating in space of like internet interest, memes, like the fucking load-bearing poster this guy is, you know? Like if you took Nick Cage away from the internet, I think it would be a much different place, and not for the better.
I think so. I don't know if in IRL, real life, his actual life, Nick Cage is any kind of oddball. I don't know. But I think my perception of him is that when he's acting, he acts big. He goes hell for leather. It's very almost theatrical performances from Nick Cage.
I don't know if you've ever seen any of the, I think Vanity Fair and a few of those do on YouTube, where they get actors to sit down and talk through their timeline of all of their movies or whatever. And it's really interesting because, for instance, when Harrison Ford was on one recently, he was like, Star Wars, that was the movie for which I got paid and I was in it and I made a lot of money. I don't know what you want me to say. And then it's like, Blade Runner. Well, I don't know what to tell you, but I met Ridley Scott and we agreed a price, and then I was in the movie and it was okay. But Nick Cage took every role. He was even shitty ones that you would write off as being he was just being silly and hamming it up. He takes his acting very, very, very seriously. He's a deep process man.
I don't think you could argue that he doesn't care. I think he cares about this job.
He cares so much he made 2 Ghost Rider movies because he loves Ghost Rider so much, because he wanted people to like Ghost Rider. So, we're dealing with an interesting cat here. And also, returning to the swirl, it's Grease Lightning himself, John Grease Lightning Travolta.
Tell me more. Is he in this film?
You better believe he is, yeah.
Does he play Mr. Face or Mr. Off? Because I assume those are the 2 title roles from the poster.
The movie, Face Off.
Johnny Face and Kurt Off.
Kurt Off, Kurt Off.
Kurt Off.
That does sound like something that would be used in Middle England, I think, particularly. Kurt out of this store. Here's a question. I believe directed by John Woo, known for big movies.
Okay.
Do you know anything, if at all anything, about the plot of Face Off? Because it's a big plot, Sam. It's a swirl-worthy plot.
All right, I think I do. I think I know something about this film.
Okay, give it to me. I
think that the 2 gentlemen in this film, John Travolta, Nick Cage, their respective characters, swap faces?
Oh!
Swap faces?
Here's a question. Why would you be swapping a face,
I don't know.
And why would they go with Face Off and not Kisser Swap like I suggested, you know?
I can't work out why that's part of the plot. I don't know why you would need how you would get their faces.
Would you and I ever need to swap faces?
I can't foresee any reason why we would.
Would you want to?
Well, I think we have similar sized heads, so might not look too terrible.
I kind of feel like when I look at your face, the way that certain people will look at someone with a similar waist and suggest a pair of leggings that they could try, you know?
Right, yeah.
You're a similar build. I think you'd wear it well.
Try on my face.
Yeah, I think you'd fill it out well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be a bit of fun, but there's not like some pressing reason why I would need to inhabit your look. And
do you believe it to be a pressing reason why they would swap faces, or do you think it's a bit of like a stag do gone awry situation, like where, oh mate, you're only putting Nick Cage now. Oh mate, you've done me there. I was going to be John Travolta.
Here's the thing: they're not swapping bodies. It's face based, right? So this is
the Great British Face Off, is what it is, mate.
I don't. I tried not to laugh at that, and I don't know why I held back.
You looked like shocked, like that I would stoop.
How dare you disparage the good name, the great name of the Great British Bake Off? They're not swapping bodies; they're swapping faces. So I don't know if this is like fully sci-fi,
or like what, Freaky Friday type of a thing, where it's
I don't think it's like that. I think it's more medically. This might be possible.
Right, so when I say Freaky Friday, so you think this is not like I've waved a wand and your faces have swapped?
I don't think it's magic.
There's scalpels involved.
I think so. But then I'm not sure why their faces would both be accessible. But I think they're in opposition to each other. I don't think they like each other.
Okay, well, I mean,
I don't think this is a buddy cop thing where they're like, hey, let's swap faces to sneak into the, I don't know, drug
This could
deal.
be what I heard about when we moved here, this kind of double talk, so it is, because obviously Face Off, his face is coming off, but we're going to have a Face Off. That's, I mean, like, if I said, here, do you want to come down for a couple of drinks with some mates? You think, oh, that sounds fun. But if I said, Sam, after work, can we have a Face Off?
Doesn't sound as fun.
No, does it now?
Sinister. Yeah.
There's a tension there that would be in the air, like.
Yeah. So they've had their faces off, and I think they're also facing off with each other. This is, I think they're against each other.
Is this a willing thing? Do you think, like, right, we're going to swap faces?
I don't know how they would have accidentally got their faces mixed up, though. I don't know how this happened. Who did this to them?
Is this like meant to be a tale of woe for what happens if you get Hollywood actors' names mixed up? Well, then we'll just swap their faces if Nick Cage and John Travolta are apparently the same.
I mean, this throws up the idea that Nick Cage will be playing John Travolta playing a character, and John Travolta will be playing Nick Cage's character.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some interesting acting going on here.
That's very true.
For sure.
Do you think Nick Cage will be goody or baddie, or goody who becomes baddie, or baddie who becomes goody?
Oh, right. If you were to show me Nick Cage and you were to show me John Travolta and say who's bad, I would say John Travolta. Is that weird?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that just because you think he's a bad person, though? Because, I mean, that's not fair. Just because he's a bad person doesn't mean he's bad.
I just, on face alone, I get more of a bad guy vibe from Travolta.
He does have, like, kind of a resting psychopath face, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Or at the very least, a resting sociopath face.
Whereas Nick Cage has, like, an active psychopath face. You know, like, he's... Which, if anything, is more charming.
Do you think that Nick Cage swapping faces and ergo bodies, is this going to be... I
don't know what the plot is.
But, like, is this an exciting situation to put this actor in?
With the face swapped?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's going to give it his all, isn't he? He gives a shit. He's going to be like, right, I'm going to be John Travolta, and I'm going to try and get the most out of John Travolta being me. Oh, God.
Imagine if we had a face-off with Arnie and Sylvester Stallone. Imagine that, like. There'd be no nuance.
But Nick Cage will have had to, like, give John Travolta lessons on how to be Nick Cage. They'll have had to have that chat with each other. Where they're giving each other tips on how to be each other. Fuck, the making of this film, the idea of this. Like, I want to watch a documentary about how this was made, man.
Yeah, but you're making it they had a chat. That's a solid weekend away. You know they got each other for a weekend.
Lad's holiday. Fucking hell. I love the idea of whatever the fuck this is. I don't know what the plot is.
You seem very excited.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen you just... Like, there's been times where it's like, I'm excited because I've heard a lot about this movie. It doesn't seem like you've heard a lot about the movie. It's just that we've talked about the plot and now you're excited.
I've heard the face idea. I know that's all I've heard, really. And I get the sense that obviously it's going to be fucking batshit insane. Like, it's just going to be wild. I think Con Air, I feel the same way about. That these are not, like, high drama. These are, like, blockbuster action
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm expecting an explosion.
I mean, this is going to be like, when this movie was being made, the director was like, lights, camera, action. And I mean action. You know? And he'd give a little wink into the camera, and then they'd say, could you get off the set, director, because we need the shot.
I wonder if I'm anticipating an explosion. Perhaps their faces get blown off in an explosion, and the Doctor accidentally puts the wrong face. It's a calamity. It's a
so you think
comedy
it could be
of
a
errors.
calamity? I see.
This could be a comedy.
A comedy of errors.
Have put the wrong faces on. Well, we can't do anything now. It's too late. You know, you're going to have to keep those faces. All right, off we go back into the world.
How about this alternative take on it? Face Off, but it's Adam Sandler, and it's like, why you done my face off? Whoa! I already have the face. That type of a thing, maybe.
Look, there's many alternate reality face-offs that we could be watching right now.
I guess we have to go with Nick Cage and John Travolta.
Nick Cage and John Travolta.
Whatever.
I'm pumped for this. I
feel I have to tell you absolutely nothing other
Please
than
don't.
When I got this movie out in video when I was a boy, far too young to see it probably, I read the back of the video, and the man in this video shop was like, this is amazing. And we're like, this is going to be amazing. And we went home, we watched it, and it was amazing. And then I watched it as an adult, and it was amazing again. So I've only seen it like the once or twice.
Okay.
But I have the childhood purity viewing, and I have the way I'm going to watch this daft movie now that I'm an adult. I've had both viewings, and both were immensely satisfying.
Okay.
So I think I don't need to say you're right to be pumped, Sam. The people voted for Face Off for a gosh darn reason, and you're about to find out.
Sometimes I go into these things kind of cautious and be like, oh, well, I hope it's going to be good. This one, my expectations are pretty lofty for the level of daftness.
Interesting. Yeah. High expectations. I have high expectations. Bring me the mailbag.
Hello and welcome to the mailbag.
I didn't say welcome, I said bring it. You've made me get up now.
Hello.
No.
Oh. Right, welcome to the room where the mailbag is. Here is the mailbag.
The mail room.
Now, I'm giving the bag to you. Here you go. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, listeners.
You know, honestly, welcome, listeners. I think the reason why people like Cinema Swirl is that you and I worked our way up from the mail room to host this podcast, you know?
I can't bring that mailbag round on tour to all the listeners. They've got to come to me. I've got to welcome them in.
I appreciate it, Sam.
Yeah.
So we got some messages to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Now, admittedly, all of these have come into the socials. That's facebook.com/cinemaswirl or twitter.com/cinemaswirl or @cinemaswirl for, traditionalists.
Yeah, that's what you're on, yeah.
These are all social messages, all right? These are coming on the socials. We had some email questions, and I put them straight in the bin. If you've emailed in, I'm giddy. I'm giddy about this film, so I'm getting quite excited here, right? But
if you've emailed in, there's no time. There's a film to watch.
Can't be dealing with emails, mate. No, so some of them I might be saving up for later. So
you know what? It'll come down to it in a few episodes' time, and I'm ringing the alarm bell now. I'm blowing the whistle, so I am.
Ding ding.
And it'll be nothing but hashtags and gifs. There won't even be questions. It'll just be John Cleese raising an eyebrow with O or L-Y written beside it, and that's the question. And we'll have to work with that.
Well, with that in mind, Kevin, if that's your attitude...
It is. I'm on the record of that being my attitude now.
We have a follow-up message to a previous mailbag message.
Oh, I see. Like. Ripping off the classic chain email trope, I see. Nice try, socials.
So this is in reply to something that was brought up on the Pretty Woman episode in the mailbag. There was a question about bad cinema date experiences.
Oh, yes.
And so this is just a nice little story for you. Chris has written in and say that question reminded him of his own personal terror. Back when Chris was 16, I was gifted free cinema tickets at Christmas. I eventually used them for a date with my first ever girlfriend. Ever the gentleman, I let her pick the film. It was Epic Movie, and I was so upset, but I couldn't say a word. To this day, I wonder if my life would have been any different had I seen Hot Fuzz instead. Now, if you're not familiar with Epic Movie...
It's a poor movie.
It's not... Yeah. It's So you know Scary Movie?
Yeah, it's one of the, like, Scary Movies went 1, 2, 3, and then they made, like, Date Movie, Epic Movie, I can't believe it's another fucking movie, and they got worse than, like, once Carmen Electra said, you know what, I'm better than this, I felt the series really struggled to gain its footing again.
So that's a real shame that you would be in that situation. When we were talking about the movie series, the movie franchise, something movie, I thought, we could do a swill of that, but then I think we might both perish from how poor those are.
Oh man, that would be tough going. That would be a tough day at the art. We have to have some really lovely
sludge we got to wade through.
That's you could cut that sludge with a knife. I feel bad because I feel like it's never happened to me. Well, it's true because I mean, Joe and I on one of our first dates we went to see the Postman Pat movie. Yeah, we went thinking this is going to be a fucking goddamn ridiculous catastrophe, and it was, and we had a lovely time doing it. Yeah. And I feel that if we went to see a movie that we thought was going to be one thing and it turned out to be rubbish, it would have been a sour early date experience. Yes. So there is a power that movies have, like, you know? I mean, maybe if my mum didn't get terrified by seeing aliens with my dad, she wouldn't have went to see another date with him. So there you go.
Thank you for that, Chris. Our next question, and this is very apropos, very topical at time of record.
Would you say it's apropos of nothing?
It's apropos of everything. It is extremely apropos. This question...
I'll have to yield to the apropos on this to make sure his decision is final.
This question comes in from Harry, who asks, what's a film series you'd suggest watching when you have some time to yourself? Say, like 2 weeks of self-isolation.
Oh,
because
right.
At time of record, depending on when you're listening to this might seem weird, there is currently an outbreak.
Actually, as of 20 minutes ago, it's a pandemic.
There is a pandemic of the coronavirus, and some people are being asked to self-isolate at home, quarantine themselves at home
for 2 weeks.
Therefore, if you were at home for 2 weeks and couldn't leave the house, and you had but one film series to keep you company, what film series would you pick? Film series, not television series, Kevin. You have to pick a series of films.
It's difficult because I was going to say the Police Academy movies, but it's quality, not quantity, isn't it? So,
yes.
I mean, I'd say like the Godfather trilogy, but that's like kind of, that'll take you for a day or two, you know? It's probably going to be something like really broad strokes now, like say the fucking Hammer horror movie series or like all Marvel movies, because you get like 1,000. And I think honestly, are you going to find time to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp 2? Probably not.
2 weeks is not
Galaxy
that long.
3. I mean, that's actually true. There might be too many Marvel movies to watch in 2 weeks. Because even if you did 2 a day, you'd still have not enough.
With that in mind, Kevin, my response to this was to go straight for value for money.
Okay.
In terms of what I was going to get.
I like value.
So I thought, Bond. All right?
Ooh, okay.
Bond. Okay, we've got a lot.
I've asked you before about your Bond experience, because I think a Bond swirl
Who told you? Oh, okay, I understand. Yes.
A Bond swirl and a Bond swill would be a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I've seen like a few dotted around here and there, but not many.
Folks, maybe start suggesting some swills and swirls for Bond, because I think that might be a good one to do soon.
Pokemon? There's a lot of Pokemon movies. There are lots of Pokemon
movies, but Sam, that's also like same old thing over and over again a bit, isn't it? Like, you know?
I also wrote down Carry On. There's a lot of Carry On films.
There are a lot of Carry On movies, but you see, if you watch all those, you become a racist, so you can't.
Well, that's the thing. But I'd also be like, no, like that, I don't be able to make those noises, so it just swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, but what I would do is I would just point you in the direction of any woman, and you try and chase them, and you go to prison, rightfully so.
Now, here's one for you, Kevin. Does this count as a series of films? And I'm curious about the definition of film series. Godzilla.
Oh, that's a series, yeah.
That's a series?
No, that's a series, and you've got
they're not all sequels to each other.
No, but it's in the same
series. It's in the universe.
I do think you probably wouldn't be able to keep within that series as like the US ones, because they're a different kind of breed of movie. But I think the classic series, you've got at last count, I think 86,000 movies they had made. So that's a good round number to get you through 2 weeks.
And my conclusion was, and I know you poo-pooed this earlier, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if that counts as a film series, I think that would represent great value to me for 2 weeks, because I've not seen all of them. I've seen not many of them. And it would be a good opportunity for me to catch up if I had to self-isolate.
You know, it's bad when one of the main things the Marvel Cinematic Universe has got going for it is that the sense that when you've watched them all, you get the feeling that you've kind of like cleaned a dirty room in your house. You know, it's not really the best sense in the world. But hey, if you got to self-isolate, why not listen to all of Cinema Swirl?
Because that'll keep you going.
There you go.
I reckon we've got at least 2 weeks of content.
I mean, if you put all 59 episodes back to back, and the Lost episode and the Swill, sure, that's a rough 2 weeks. I'm not going to check.
No, me neither. But I would imagine that's probably about 2 weeks worth, give or take.
Easy peasy, yeah.
Got one more question here, and this comes in from Matthew, who writes, is there any movie you watched by a streaming service, brackets like a Netflix original, that you would have liked to have watched in a theatre environment instead? Now, I pose this to you because I have 2 recent examples. Because this whole premiering on streaming first, or in tandem with a theatrical release, feels quite recent.
It does, and I've got this weird relationship with that because I bought a new telly a few years ago, and part of that in my mind was well, I've got this nice telly now, so therefore I won't need to go to the cinema as much because that was when people started saying, oh, Disney are going to release all their movies streaming now, so the new Star Wars and the new Marvel movies, you'll watch them at home. I'm well, fuck it, I might as well, take advantage of that. That being said, I feel like when I saw Uncut Gems, I felt if I saw it in the cinema, it would have probably had more of an impact.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
And I have kind of complicated feelings on the whole thing of if seeing it in the cinema makes it better. And I recently saw 2 movies in the cinema. I saw The Lighthouse and I saw Eraserhead by David Lynch. And both of those, seeing them in the cinema, I was like, oh, if I'd seen these at home, I wouldn't have the same opinion of the movie that I do right now, which is greatly enhanced by it. So, yeah, my back pocket says that I should watch everything on streaming going forward, but there's a bit of movie magic in the air when you're in a big room that smells vaguely of piss and has got good air conditioning.
You can't quite recreate that experience at home, can you, no matter how hard you try?
Because I clean my bathroom, so, that's the thing.
My thought from this was Uncut Gems, but also I've watched some of The Irishman and I never finished it. I got about half an hour in and I thought I'll come back to this. I think going to see it at the cinema would kind of force me to keep watching it.
Yes, but Sam,
streaming allows you to stop and go away.
Streaming allows you to fucking endure a 4.5 hour movie. When I was 14 years old, a spry young lad, and I could barely make it through Return of the King. I was crippled in this fucking cinema because it was so sore sitting there for that long. And I'm a much older gentleman now, and I don't like the idea of being in a cinema for longer than two and a bit hours, really, because I get really uncomfortable. 4.5 hours? No way. What's The Irishman about? Is it about a man's struggle over several decades to try and fucking watch The Irishman because it's so fucking long? Are you going to digitally de-age me when I start to make it representative of when I began watching your fucking long movies, Scorsese?
It's weird, but I want to watch it. But I can't trust myself to do it on my own. I need someone to... I have to be babied into just being in the environment for long enough that I will have watched it by the time I leave.
Here's a big thing about the cinema that you won't do, and I think almost anyone I know doesn't do this, but you won't be checking your phone or diddling away on a second screen in the cinema, would you?
No,
exactly.
You wouldn't.
Whereas if you're watching I'll tell you, even Uncut Gems, I checked the phone a few times. When I got pinged for Twitter... It happens.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the cinema and the man says, you turn off your phone now, I do that,
You fucking watch when you're at the cinema, you watch the movie. I don't mean to state the obvious here, but oh boy, you're going to watch it.
I love the idea if this could be, because everyone's sick of that, hello, makes you notice, doesn't it? A bit of shut up. If you go, Sam, just got to go, you watch the movie.
When you're in the cinema, mate, you watch the movie.
That's
all
it.
Right? Turn it off. Not silent.
Turn off all phones, tablets, and young children. Switch them off.
Nowadays they're like, oh, you can just put it on silent. No, turn it off. All right? When did they soften on that?
Because there was a point back home in Galway where we go and have a phone going. Turn your phones off, and then we go. And we mean off, and it would go properly off.
I like that. I like
vibrating's
that.
Off? No, it's not off. It's on.
Turn the whole thing off. Let's turn the whole thing off.
We know your secret tricks. So, yeah, I think there's a lot going in there into the old... And the problem as well is that there is also the rush and the thrill of sneaking food into the cinema. And try as I might, sneaking nachos from my kitchen into my living room. I hope old man doesn't find out, So, yeah, that's a complex one. You know what? The real answer to this, Matthew, will be when aforementioned Disney movies start coming out on Mattelli. And whether... Because, Marvel movies, there is an element of I have to go see them because I've invested so much in them. But if I can watch it at home...
They're not going to premiere proper movies first on their streaming thing, are they? Biggins.
That would be... We wouldn't be calling this Cinema Swirl, that would we? Call it Telly Swirl, it'll be.
Simultaneous release? Give over.
Come on, we couldn't call it Cinema Swirl. We'd have to call it Telly Addicts, and that's already a thing. Sam, are you ready to have a face-off with Face-Off?
I am ready. Thank you for all your questions into the mailbag. I'm hyped. I'm still hyped. I'm still buzzing. I'm still up. I'm excited.
This is going to be, I believe, one of the best movies you've ever seen on this podcast.
Okay.
There you go. It's been hyped up as much as humanly possible. A lot of pressure. Let's go do a Cinema Swirl. And we're back. Get your bets in and your faces off, because we just watched Face Off. Sam, initial gut reaction to John Woo's extravaganza of visages and explosions.
I mean, just incredible.
Yes!
To be fair, it is actually a ludicrous display. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Because some of the footy heads be listening to that going, was Woo offside the whole movie? Is that what you're telling me?
No, Woo was onside. Woo knew exactly what he was doing, and
he was onside on our side, the side of the audience.
The side of the popcorn guzzling paying cinema customer here is who John Woo was on the side of, because, oh boy, was some blocks busted, because that was a blockbuster right there.
This was such a blockbuster that this could literally knock your bloody block off. I was
busting my block the whole time, because it was just so... visually stimulating.
This was the type of blockbuster that was the fuel of blockbusters, you know?
Yeah. I mean, amazing. Mind-blowingly insane.
Was it a surprise to you, the type of movie it was? Because sometimes when we do this podcast in the first bit, you kind of... you skirt around it, you might get some themes in some parts. You kind of almost directly hit the nail straight through the head and out the other side of the eye.
I knew the main conceit, the main kind of concept of this film, the big point you have to try and get over to the producers in the pitch meeting. No, they swap faces. And once you know that that's part of the film, which I did beforehand, you kind of get a sense it's going to be at least a little bit batshit. But I don't know if I was fully prepared for how mad this was going to be and how bombastic and silly, but kind of deadly serious but stupid this was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, people always throw around the old adage of, it doesn't take itself too seriously. This movie takes itself very fucking seriously. This movie's all business, and business is booming. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, literally booming, because there were explosions.
I looked at the movie and I saw that it was a lot longer than I remembered. And I'll tell you something for nothing. Them 2 hours 15 breezed by. Well-paced explosions.
Yeah. This didn't feel long, is what I will say about this film. I didn't think, we're heading past 2 hours. We're north of 2 hours. I'm going to be impatient and bored. And no, I had a blast.
That's the problem with The Irishman. They didn't take any of their faces off.
That's the thing.
You're fidgety around 90 minutes in, Sam. We whip off Pacino, put it on young Pacino. That would have been fun.
And The Irishman didn't open with John Travolta on a carousel with a little child in what I assumed from watching it must have been a fucking dream sequence, because it looks like it was kind of fuzzy and blurry and surreal. Nick Cage had a mustache.
it was an emotional recollection, Sam, that has been tinged with the sadness and regret of loss. This movie comes at you with a fucking binder full of tropes that you can barely keep up with. Like not even the characters themselves seem aware of half the shit that's like been forced onto them here. But yeah, you've got a guy who loses his son on the carousel one day before retirement, that boy, Sam. It was so sad. That boy's partner was only retired the day before. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so Nick Cage, with his Freddie Mercury mustache here, attempts to assassinate John Travolta, but the bullet goes through John Travolta's back into the chest of his little boy, his son boy, and the boy has died. I mean, it's so dramatic.
Like rain on your wedding day. It's the dead child when you are Nick Cage.
There's a zoom in on the carousel horse with blood on it. There's a balloon flying away. There's heaps of like super obvious symbolism stuff here. And just, they're throwing everything at this. Everything is like piled on. This is like an ice cream sundae of a film. There's too many toppings, but it's still fucking delicious.
To mix our metaphors, this is an on-the-rails ice cream sundae, because they lock you in, they hit you with everything, and you will not miss a single thing in this movie. It is literally impossible. It will hit you over the head with every detail, every twist, and there are so many of them. But yeah, just like that, blap blap, Luigi killed your boy, John Travolta. I was at this point in the movie when I realised I was referring to them as John and Nick, and then when they swap over later, Nick and John, and that was quite difficult.
So in my notes, I've got a lot of John brackets Nick and Nick brackets John, and I'm still not 100% sure who I'm referring to when I say those things. And
the problem as well with that, Sam, is that these two actors, they're very much leading with them surnames, because Nick and John don't really sound like very important people. You know, but John's son's dead and Nick's got his hands dirty.
Yeah, like John and Nick are like blokes who work in IT, aren't they? But John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, they don't work in IT.
Yeah, you won't call them Mr. Cage or Mr. Travolta either, though. That would be improper. It's John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I realised that in the first half we called him Nick Cage. Very informal, I felt.
Just that good buddy Nick. So that carousel sequence, that fucking bizarro kind of nightmare thing, that set the tone for me straight away. I was like, I'm going to have fun here because this is super daft. We go 6 years later.
It's very rare, like when you've got the blood of a child seeping on the... No, but it's like,
I'm going to have fun.
I'm having a good time. Yeah.
I'm going to have fun. We refer to these two as their actor names, Nick and John. But Nick's character, his name, Castor Troy. Castor Troy.
Oh, that name gives you aftertaste when you say it.
Oh, a nice big bowl of Castor Troy.
Oh, God.
It's got a medicinal taste to it.
You'll have your spoon of Castor Troy or the Protestants will come and give you eczema.
And for some reason, he's dressed as a priest because he's putting a bomb in a convention centre where there's choir singers doing
Sam,
choir
this is
singing.
Basically when we had these types of movies, like kind of before the 9/11 business of 2001, but long enough after the kind of Russian business of the Cold War, where Hollywood didn't really know who its default baddies were anymore. Yeah. So you got these charismatic terrorists for hire who are like, I'm a hacker and also a graphic designer and also I've got nerve gas.
I think this was, we hit a peak time here, I think this was 1997, where on-screen terrorism was kind of fun.
Like, yeah, it was peak. Yeah. It was, that was it. Like, I mean, I'll say it here now, Sam, you know, but the IRA could have learned a thing or two from Castor Troy. This guy had a much better grip. It was a lot more fun for everyone, wasn't it?
His bomb comes in a big orange lunchbox, and when you open it up, there's a skull and crossbones on it to show you that it's a bad bomb and it's naughty, and he stashes it away.
See, it's a thing though, isn't it? Because people always say, right, that one man's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. Yeah. So, like, generally speaking, terrorism is at best an acquired taste, but this is very palatable stuff indeed.
I feel that we've launched into this head first going, Nick Cage is going to be the big ticket item here. He's going to be the guy doing the really wacky acting. But John Travolta, immediately, even in character as John Travolta, his face is very funny to me, and I don't know what, when he's being a serious cop, man.
He is silly looking, isn't he?
Yeah. Any word from LAPD intelligence, if there is such a thing? You know, I mean, that's almost, if you said it in the wrong way, that's like David Brent type line there. Like, that's really kind of like cheeky chappy. Why don't you just take a break, man? We'll take a break when the case breaks, okay? The intensity of him here is...
I've got 100 of them, guys, yeah? Try me, all right? Yeah, I like that he has obviously come a long way since our first foray into Travolta with Grease.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see Hot Rod Grease Lightning here at all, really.
No.
This is a much different person. But it does need to explicitly state it how silly John Travolta was, and always will be.
Yes. In a different way to Nick Cage, but still quite an intense silliness. I can't quite put my finger on why I find him funny.
Because you've had his intense Brent-like silliness there, compare and contrast with the silliness of Nick Cage, who's dressed up as a priest, doing a hard rock jam to a choir, and then groping a teenager.
Hallelujah.
He's properly headbanging.
Yeah.
What is this, Kerrang TV? You can't do that.
Grabbing a bum of a young lady and making a very Nick Cage face. I can't describe it better than that.
I would describe it as a GIF, is probably what's best to describe.
But there's about 12 of those in this. There's about 12 moments in this that I recognise from internet of just Nick Cage's fucking face. Like, he can pull a face. The man can act with his face.
He dials it up here, and I think we went into our foray with Wicker Man thinking this will be pure crazy Cage to the nines. And even though Cage technically plays the goodie for most of this movie, the little bits of Castor Troy you get here with Nick Cage are so fucking potent. But he's only there for like 15 minutes playing the baddie. It's crazy.
But you get a strong dose that kind of hangs around with you for the rest of the film.
Are we willing to completely rule out that Nick Cage kind of like haunted or possessed Travolta for his scenes? Because I kind of feel like he might be a warg.
He could be, yeah. It's within the realms of possibility for Nick Cage. I don't know what's going on there. I think what we get up top here, that I really enjoy, is we get very exaggerated traits of these two characters so that we know when they go topsy-turvy, swappy-aroundy, who's who. Because Castor Troy, he's proper like madcap, bizarro villain, super crazy man. He gives me very strong Joker vibes.
Oh, you're talking about JL?
What? Who?
Jared Leto, mate.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking I had John Lewis in my head for some reason.
Mate, Jared Leto never knowingly undersold. Am I right? Because he sold the shit out of that role. He's still selling that role.
Never knowingly remembered in his role as the Joker, but I think a Nick Cage Joker is something we've maybe collectively missed out on as a culture. I think he could definitely pull that off.
We have got it. It's right here. Like, you know, turn the contrast up. Put one of them filters that they use on Twitch to make your skin look a bit, like, brighter and your teeth look a bit normaler. And there you go. That will work for him. He'd be Joker.
Because he sort of seems to be a big bastard for the sake of being a big bastard. He doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
He just loves being a crime man.
And also, like the Joker and many of his baddie contemporaries, he's surrounded by a clutch of very stereotypical baddies from the time. There's obviously the hacker nerd confidant, and there's also, like, the big, strong, bald muscle man, you know? There's a very cool-looking black gentleman in the background who doesn't get to say anything. Very 1997.
Super-duper tropes all over the place. I don't know when to get to this, but, like, this is so silly, and there's so many, like, cliched things here, but this is done so lovingly that I kind of forgot before I watched this that action films can just wear their sort of action heart on their sleeve and just
you don't have
ridiculous.
to be funny. Like, you don't have to try earnestly to be funny. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a good action comedy, and you know, I love a good one-liner that's delivered in an Arnie movie is always classic, and I find the bit of humor provides a lot of levity. But this movie managed to do the thing where if you ask the director and the intent of it, there is no levity in terms of humor or anything like that, but the movie is so plainly batshit insane, but doesn't let on that it's crazy. It's very cathartic watch.
It's a movie that really wants us to have fun watching it, I think.
Well, that's why you get lines like, "This is a very big gun, fly the fucking plane."
Yes.
You know? And I've heard of snakes on a plane, Sam, but doinks on a plane? He's there smoking drugs, and they're having a big plane chase, and we're only 15 minutes in.
His two golden guns? He's got golden pistols.
Well, that's because he got the day one DLC pack, mate. That's obviously.
His little hacker brother is called Pollux. I mean, what?
Now, the only thing was missing was the little brother to go, I've calculated the trajectory of our escape, brother.
Nick loves his little brother Pollux, and you can tell this because he kneels down to do his shoelaces up for him. And you think, oh, okay, yeah, he really cares for his brother. He wants to make sure he's okay and stuff like that. And then to really hammer it home, he gets up and says, I really love you. I just love you. You're my brother and I love you, and I care about you. You're my brother. So just to make it clear.
I feel like this movie could have, really benefited from a few times saying, note, this is an important plot point or element. Hang on to this in your back pocket for later, you know?
Shoelace bit.
There are a lot of breadcrumbs dropped along the trail here, you know? Very, very... Some subtle callbacks throughout the movie, let's just say. Then we get a great scene where John Travolta plays chicken with a jet, and his buddy cop is like, are you going to play chicken with a motherfucking jet? And he does.
Yeah, so they're trying to stop a plane with cars and helicopters.
Someone's never played GTA Online because that does not work.
On a runway. There's an FBI agent in disguise on the plane. She's had to suck Nick Cage's tongue because that's something he says when he's flirting and talks about eating peaches and things. He's a grotesque man.
He's a slippery son of a gun, isn't he?
He's a slippery bugger. He's holding the FBI lady hostage while John Travolta, I think, at one point is in a helicopter. Oh no, this is before he gets in a helicopter because Nick Cage kills the FBI lady and then does the most snarky face and like a little kind of shrug.
Like Jimmy Carr telling a racist joke kind of a face.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of like, I killed your friend.
But you gotta laugh, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta laugh.
It's beautifully repugnant, is what I wrote in my notes. And so John Travolta gets in a fucking helicopter. He can pilot a helicopter. Of course he can.
He's John Travolta.
Yeah. And Nick Cage kills the pilot of the plane and tries to steer the plane himself.
And sure, he only booms it right into that hangar, so he does.
So all of this has happened. There's a big plane crash, but the plane hadn't even taken off, mate. And you think, oh, well, that's it for this sequence. We've had our fun here.
You know, I love, Sam, when we get the big explosion, and this happens with a number of explosions throughout the movie, is that there's legit whistly fireworks as well. It'll go boom, and then like, it's so fucking funny. It's like someone's celebrating the explosion as it's happening.
Do you want another cliche trope that I love?
Is it Nick Cage becoming Max Payne in slow motion?
Yes, the slow motion dive out of a door, sideways, both guns firing at once. Oh, it's good. This film has big old heaping dollops of slow motion all over it, and it's lovely.
I think if you took away the slow motion, we would have been looking closer to a 90-minute affair, you know?
Yeah.
But the slow-mo is lovingly done and frequently used correctly, so...
I would say about 30 to 40% of this film is not in actual regular motion. It's
yeah, and also
as well,
it's not even just things you might think, like explosions and shootouts. The bit earlier where, like, with his son, that was in slow motion, for instance.
Yeah.
And not just all of it, like, the entire bit. Like, before he died, as he was dying, as he died, yeah.
John Woo seems to like fabric flapping around in slow motion, because whenever Nick Cage has got a coat, or someone's got some sort of tarp, or there's any kind of fabric that can blow around, that's always shot in slow motion.
He likes swooshy stuff. And also, I'll tell you what John Woo loves. He loves his Christian imagery, doesn't he? Fuck me. There is not since a young passion of the Christ himself was on this show that we've seen such blatant Christian imagery. There's a lot in this movie.
I mean, these action sequences are brilliant action sequences, aren't they? That shootout,
breathtaking,
in this room with like reflective surfaces and lights that look really nice on camera. There's little shots, like a kind of blurry light effect that just, I can't describe it, but it looks beautiful.
It's the peak time, isn't it, from before we had digital explosions?
Yeah.
And this is where we've got physical effects. So, like, they actually blew up an airport for this. Like, they fucking just blew up a whole airport, and like they didn't have an airport in that city anymore. But obviously, like, the movie industry needed this,
needed
and the city took it on the chin, you know? That's why there's not an airport in New Jersey anymore. It just happened, you know?
I would describe some of this action as glamorous.
Oh, yeah. When there's fireworks going off, it's glamorous.
Yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of the explosions are very gold and opulent explosions. It's not very much red. It's always very on the golden platinum side of things, these big booms. Hey, I like that they have their showdown, or face down. Sorry, face off. You big show off.
A show face.
And they have, there's a lot going on with these two characters. And in many respects, Nick Cage wants to seduce him to the dark side. He's got a very tempting offer. Come blow shit up. It's fun.
Yeah, try terrorism for hire, mate. I mean, that's so good. That's what made me think of, like, the whole Joker thing. Like, just... I like being a terrorist. I blow shit up. It's fun. Way! I'm singing. I'm goofy. I'm dancing. I'm having a good time. I'm mad.
Then he barks some as well.
Yeah.
Then he begs, and then he cries, and then he gets a knife out, and then he sings. He's a very busy man.
Yes. He gets jet engined into a big grate.
That would have liquefied a lesser man, Sam.
Yeah, but no, he's too robust for that, so he just gets grated. Well, he doesn't get grated like cheese, right? He just gets hit into the grate.
And then he's like, oh, great, not this. And that's the end of him, like. And then I was thinking, well, there we all wrapped up. Castor Troy has been apprehended. I assume he's going to go to prison where his face will be taken off and the movie will end.
Roll credits, please.
Roll credits. The teenage daughter is revealed. We come home after a successful bust, and whoa, we get a hard crash zoom in on her fucking mascara, because she's not like most girls. She's different, Sam. And John Travolta doesn't know what to think.
His daughter's a goth. I'm going to say it. That's what happened. She's gothic. She's got the goth look. But apparently this changes every week, and he's like, who are you today? Is this you? Does this represent you? Who are you?
As Ozzy and Kelly Osbourne once said, we're going through phases. And that's what's happening here. It's a lot of phases, isn't it? Do you ever have a phase? Were you a goth for a hot minute back in the day? Or were you a skater boy? I said, see you later, boy.
I was very much a skater boy. Still am a skater boy, mate. Love skating. But I hung around with the goths and the grebs.
I heard that word for the first time recently. I thought it was an NPC in an early Morrowind or something, but no, it's an actual thing.
I was goth and greb adjacent, but I was never fully goth.
You know, I hung out with them all, the goths, the grebs, the grunks, the dongans, you know, all of them, you know?
All of them. I didn't really quite go through a full-on emo phase. I've had long hair, you know. I've had long hair.
But he did care, so it doesn't count.
And who hasn't in this day and age, you know?
Me.
You not ever had long hair?
I've never, I mean...
Like shoulder length?
No, like my hair's just kind of grown out, and like it's grown over my ears, and it's gotten like quite like a mane, but my hair just kind of grows up and out. Yeah, it's big. It's not a long thing. Like,
you've never grown it out?
No, I've not, because it's quality, not quantity, Sam, and I've got enough of both, to be honest, for days, so...
All right, fair enough.
Okay. There you go.
No, big words from a big man with big hair.
I don't think it comes off of the podcast, and I worry the fans don't know. And
what, the hair thing?
That it's big, yeah.
Yeah, it's big hair.
I mean, the cartoon does it justice.
Yes.
But I just feel like, I don't think people think, oh, that's cartoon exaggeration. It's quite like that in real life.
Well, if you want to just like rub your hair on the on the mic to try and...
Well, listen to the softness of this.
Okay. There you go. Ah, lovely.
The bristle of the beard. Oh.
Different noises there. There's different consistencies to the hair, which is important.
And or delving into ASMR. I mean, this podcast will basically be entirely ASMR within the next 3 to 4 episodes. But this is what we call a soft launch. So,
there's goth daughter. She's stropping upset, but John Travolta's home to reveal to his wife Eve, honey. He doesn't say honey, but he's like, I got him, Eve.
We compromised him to a permanent end. It was really great.
It's over. It's over.
And you know what? It's over. And therefore, they're having a bit of a party. And instead of being a good boy and grabbing the drink and going, to the glorious dead, he's like, what about Johnny and Pat and Tony? And then he takes the bottle and goes.
Well, people have died.
All right,
come on.
What about the people in the room who want to have a bit of the drink there now, you big scabby bastard, huh?
Forget about the people who have died. This party has died, mate, because of your stinking attitude.
Travolta, don't you think you could do the fake outrage and leave with the food or drink move? I invented that move. Look at the size of this pepperoni pizza. I'm outraged. And then I'm gone, you know? And then people think I'm on the blower to Papa John's. I'm not. I'm in the toilet, mate. I'm eating pizza. Mate, stuffed crust, stuffed Kevin. That's what I'm talking about.
We get some great computer screen stuff throughout this whole film.
Oh,
we get like case closed over the picture of Nick Cage in big red block letters. That's good. And also, Pollux, with his weird floppy disk, he kind of programs in sexy cartoon teletext ladies onto all of his
it really reminded me of CFAX from back in the day in teletext. Yeah, I got quite nostalgic for Bamboozle when I saw the sexy lady release a nerve toxin.
And we see some of the bomb plans, and we know there's a bomb happening, but we don't know where the bomb's going to be. So we got to go to Pollux, mate.
And this is where the movie is kind of saying, look, we've got around an hour and 45 to 50 minutes to subtly tell the story, or we can literally have one person you never really see again go up to John Travolta and say, hey, do you want to swap faces? We have scientists who have it ready to go, and they already have your face ready to go. And yeah, Castor Troy's a turnip, so why don't you become him?
Yeah, so am I right in thinking that the reason why they need to swap his face is because Pollux, who, by the way, in the interview room, has the most disgustingly 90s chroma key green shirt on that I really loved. You know, that, like, green shirt? Ah, disgusting.
It's alien
love it.
puke green is what it is. Now, but Pollux is a bollocks, though, in fairness.
Yeah, Pollux is a bollocks, and he won't give away the bomb situation to anyone. He won't talk to anyone about the bomb. He won't tell you where the bomb is. So their plan, if I understand this correctly, is put Nick Cage's face onto John Travolta so that Pollux will trust him and tell him where the bomb is.
Now, what I like to think was the amount of law enforcement officials and people from like the FBI and the Justice Department, people who like hunt people for a living and for the law, and how many people saw this scene and then turned to their partner and go, why didn't we think of that? Like, why didn't we do that? You remember that murder? He murdered all those people and he literally just got away with it. Why didn't we do that? Why did we do that? Like,
I mean, there's not too much science on display in terms of how
lasers. What are you talking about? That's the most scientific thing there is.
They do some lasers. They change your face. They put a weird microchip in your throat to make you talk different. They make you a bit less fat or a bit more fat. They change your height. It's fine. It's all fine, but it's completely reversible. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We've built Gavin Belson from Silicon Valley a new ear, so everything's going to be okay. We're fine.
And also, as well, no one really pays attention to John Travolta or Nick Cage's bodies, right? You guys kind of look the same anyway, so whatever, you know?
Roughly, yeah. So if he doesn't swap his face, the bomb's going to blow up and people will die, so that's the pressure there.
And also, you got pressure from them interrogating these Eurotrash baddies who aren't giving them nothing. They're like, how's your dead son? Oh!
And he properly bites to that. He rises to that. When that happened, when this baldy bad guy was like, hey, Sean, how's your dead son? Which is a great thing for a bad guy to say.
Like, not even how's your son?
How's your dead son?
So they're not going to go, hang on, he's dead. But they're like, oh, wait, you're just kicking down the door here. You're not even knocking.
There's no subtlety in this film, and that's important. That's good. I like that everything is laid on thick. How's your dead son? I thought John Travolta's character might not rise to it, and he might sort of be brave and be like, no, I can't flip out. But he flips out and he gets very violent.
Yeah, he takes the bait. Basically, in this movie, anytime there's any sort of a bait for John Travolta in terms of a provocation, he'll take it. The other bait that he will always take is touching his or someone else's face.
Oh, the face thing? The hand
face
down
thing.
The face?
Now, we're in the midst of a pandemic when you're listening to this. This is in March of 2020.
It is.
Where we are having COVID-19 and face touching is something that is on everyone's mind, as is hand washing. And it's like we watched a movie where people wash their hands every 5 seconds and you're like, oh, this is really pertinent. They touch each other's face and their own faces, and every face gets touched in this movie.
Well, it's face off, mate.
Not a little touch, a big bleh, like a cat who wants you to know he really doesn't love you.
Well, so the romantic gestures between the entire Travolta, and I'm going to keep calling them John Travolta's family.
It's what he would have wanted.
Is just running your hand down the entirety of someone's face. And it doesn't look cute. It doesn't. I don't like it. It's just like batting someone's face with your hand.
I mean,
but that's what they do.
At home right now, imagine this. Imagine if your mum or your dad or whatever did that to you. Like, and they did it as a kid and you had to do it as an adult. Like, is it really awkward point when you're like 14 where you're like, stop touching my fucking face?
Yeah. And if they were doing it just running their hand down your face entirely, it would be a different kettle of fish altogether.
I don't want no face touching like that, COVID-19 or otherwise.
More plot devices here. For some reason, he's not allowed to tell his wife that he's turning into Nick Cage for a bit.
It's undercover, Sam. You see, when it comes to being undercover, it's very ethical because you do very unethical things and you hurt those around you. And also, very importantly, you hurt people who have nothing to do with it as well. And those people need to be respected, okay?
What's his reasoning to his wife for disappearing for a little while? I can't remember what he says.
He has to go away on assignment, like...
Oh, that's it. And she's like, I don't want you to go. You've caught the guy. Just leave it. Just, relax. He has to do it. He's going to do it.
Now, there's one thing about, sneaking out for a cheeky curry or something like that, but sneaking out for a cheeky illegal face-swapping operation without telling your wife... That's your bad husband.
That's going to land you in the doghouse, isn't it,
Yeah, mate, you're going to have to spend all your brownie points. I don't think they'll convert to what you'll need to get out of this situation.
The doctor who can do this operation looks like a right smug jerk, doesn't he?
He does, and he had that kind of aloofness about him that made me question the entire operation. I was very worried the faces would just fall off at any point in the movie because of this guy. I didn't trust him.
Yeah, I really didn't like the visuals of the face being removed. It was very uncomfortable to watch.
I would have much preferred if the faces had a click when they came off, like to imply that we're modular beings, and I would have liked that.
Like a Joy-Con coming off a Nintendo Switch, that
that real beautiful, nice...
When you put a new face on it, makes a nice
crisp...
but it's
beautiful.
not like that. And it's taken off with a kind of plastic wrap that makes it look like it's been vacuum packed and sold as a toy, the face of John Travolta. Yeah, it's kind of gross.
I saw that bag and I was like, Smithy's up to his old tricks again.
He doesn't want to lose his bullet wound from when his son died, and he gives his wedding ring to his mate. There's a slow motion shot of him handing over the wedding ring to his mate. I think Tito. He gives the ring to Tito.
If you don't do that in slow motion, how's that going to read, Sam? Now, he takes this quite badly, he's not very happy when he wakes up. He ruins a mirror and tells everyone to fuck off, and that's usually not as good as you'd want it to go.
So it's our first glimpse of Cage as Travolta smashing shit up, going, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! High energy stuff here.
Yeah, no, because I felt he did an excellent job of really embodying what it would be like if you woke up and you had Nick Cage's face. And he's like, how am I this popular actor? Oh, he's very much, and that's the thing is because Nick Cage, he's always Nick Cage, and he didn't really let that on at all here. That was very good acting.
I have two feelings about this. One is that, he knew what he was getting into and he knew what the end result was going to be. But also, regardless of circumstance, if you wake up and you look in the mirror and there's someone else's face, it's going to send you a bit, loopy in it.
And then he saw his face. Now he's a believer. Fuck you. I'm a believer. He also gets around 10 minutes of voice training. Peaches. Perfect. You're basically Nick Cage.
They don't have that kind of technology now, even. They can't really do any good voice changing. But back in the 90s, or was this set in the 2000s, kind of? This is sort of in the future.
To be set in some sort of a mildly dystopian future.
Yeah. Microchip in the throat. I know. It's serious. Put it in there and he can talk like Nick Cage.
And he's going to prison now, and we get another great face-touching scene where he's walking into the prison and he says to his friend, my face itches. And then he just goes...
rubs his face. It's quite cute because he looks very vulnerable when he's saying... He's trying to itch his face on the wall, but his mate does it for him. He's very sweet when he's saying, my face itches. It's really sad. And he's... What is this prison that you sent down into? It's bizarre, super bad... hidden prison that you're not supposed to know about for the really bad criminals.
Thug house. The big house. The thug jug.
Where they put robot shoes on.
Big magnet prison.
What are these shoes?
The special magnet shoes. I don't know if you played Twilight Princess for the Nintendo Wii. But there is a dungeon that's pretty much got this whole gimmick where you've got magnet boots. And the idea is that they keep you in place and ensure that you stay in certain zones, so you're not going to leave the yard because you're glued to the yard type of a thing.
Now, I wish there had been some sort of montage of Sean John Travolta's character called Sean Archer, I think, of him receiving some sort of training.
Oddly, Sean Archer is a straight arrow, just so you know at home. But what, you mean like a training montage of him getting to be good at him?
Nick Cage.
He had like 10 minutes, that was it.
He hadn't had any rehearsal time to be Nick Cage, and straight away he almost like immediately slips up and it's like, oh, I busted you. I mean,
I busted
Sean
your
Archer
balls
busted you.
about your small dick. I love it. The first criminal he meets, he immediately fucks it up.
Yeah, he hasn't had the requisite training that he needs to fulfill this role.
But he does then, there's a big magnet brawl, or a magna brawl as it's also known.
Yeah.
And he starts to kind of feel a little bit. He starts to get into the headspace. And I think it's when you hear the line, I'm Castor Troy! Woo! that I think he's starting to become him a little bit, Sam.
He is, and he does some proper fucking fighting here.
He nearly ices the guy.
Yeah, he's mastering the weird psycho stuff already, and I think that's probably because his own psyche is damaged from the fact that he has become Nick Cage. Like, he's got Nick Cage's face, and that must be fucking him up. So he channels that energy, does John Travolta as Nick Cage here, to be more like Nick Cage. And it works. Pollux looks on, and he's sad that his brother's getting beaten up, but he does manage to resist actually smashing someone to death.
So he's still human. Still got some Archer left in that heart of his.
Everything goes slow motion again, and we get some sad piano music to be like, he's still the same guy that we knew from before, and he doesn't actually want to kill. He's just having a very tough time at the moment because he's become Nick Cage.
And that piano was actually a really jaunty little number, but in the slow motion, it becomes quite a somber piece. Yeah. We have a problem here now because Nick Cage is only waking up, and sure, he has no face now, and I mean, he's got to have a plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming out of his coma, and he's been feeling real bad because he's not got a face. He wakes up, he starts to realise that he's got no face, it's gone, and he sees John Travolta's face in a jar, and he does some proper terrified screaming, does Nick, or John.
He's screaming, Nick. He's like, whack foe my daddy-o, there's a face in the jar. Now, I like that we have the subtlety of fake Castor Troy building trust with the brother here, and he's trying to feel him out. The brother's real kind of suspicious and all that, so he's feeling him out, and he's like, yeah, man, I mean, we're going to blow up LA. That's like so cool, it's awesome. I can't wait to do it. It's like, yeah, that's how criminals talk, right?
Pollux is already a little bit suspicious of his brother, so he's asking him, like, what medication is the medication that I take? And really quizzing him on who he is.
No, they haven't. You're not wearing a wire. They've not traded your face, have they? If you're a cop wearing the face of my brother, you have to tell me. Otherwise, it's entrapment.
Yeah,
it's the law. And then they're like, sir, you're correct. You have to rip off the face and show him your badge.
He can't remember why he started a fight with someone, and Pollux is like, it's because you shagged his wife, mate, and his sister or something like that. Well, he says, like, you had a sex sandwich with his wife and sister. But my favourite,
that sounds tasty.
John Travolta, Nick Cage being Nick John, talking to Pollux here, the best line is that barn you built, it's a work of art. It belongs in the Louvre. The Louvre. But the LA Convention Center will have to do is what Pollux says. He gives away where it is. He gives up his secret. He tells it where it is.
Who does who better, do you think? Like, do you think... Because we get Travolta coming in now as evil Castor Troy with John Travolta's face. And I think he actually does almost a better job at being Nick Cage than Nick Cage does at being John Travolta. But I would say that it's easier to be Nick than it is to be John, because Nick has got more characteristics.
I think so, but they both do a bang-up job of just being weird in their own respective ways. A thing that I really loved when we get faceless Nick waking up, the creative ways they managed to avoid showing his actual lack of face. There's a big shadow on the wall as he's talking in a kind of scary, muffled voice, because obviously his mouth is all going to be fucked up and things like that. But there's a horrible scene. They kidnap the doctor to try and get him to do the surgery to put John's face onto him. And these little cuts that we get to Nick's no face, we see like the side of his face. with no face on it. And it does look like he's just smeared his face with tomato sauce.
It does. It's a thick tomato sauce, though, Sam. It's been reduced.
And we see a view of it in the reflection of the Doctor's glasses, which is quite haunting. But yeah, so now both characters have got their swapped faces, and we're in for it now. It's really happening here.
As the So Solid crew dared to ask once, we have flip reversed it
yes.
Here, is what's happened.
John, in the role of Nick... talking to Pollux, he's completed his mission, hasn't he? He's found out where the bomb is, so everything's fine.
Escape,
okay?
right?
Yeah,
except
done.
Castor Troy has assumed his identity, and then we get the great line, the famous line. Sure, it's like looking in the mirror, so it is, but not so
but
it
not.
isn't.
It's like looking in the mirror, but not. I mean...
And he's like, hey, Nicolas Cage, I'm going to go home and fuck your wife, who's my wife now, technically. Oh, this is a tangled web.
He reveals that he's nicked the wedding ring off Tito, who he's, by the looks of this flashback, burned to death inside the lab with the Doctor and everything. Everyone's dead.
Actually, it feels wrong that I said ice, that they were burnt to death, actually, so...
Well, yeah, it's the opposite.
He smoked them out. There you go.
Yes, they've been smoked out. And yes, brags that he's going to go home and fuck John Travolta's wife, because he is now John Travolta.
Now, if someone says they're going to go home and fuck your wife, they don't mention the fact they're going to go home, first read your diary, and then fuck your wife. Because he's like, I'm going to go fuck your wife. And then he's like, the diary, dear diary, I have not had sex with my wife in 2 months. I can't get a load of this jack off. I'm going to go have sex with his wife now. What a meanie.
I mean, his wife doesn't well, she kind of cottons onto his sudden change in behaviour, but not enough that she's extremely suspicious. Because he's doing proper, like, looking at a bum, being like, I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave, things like that.
And he's also been very easy with his daughter.
Yes.
And there's a very subtle bit in this scene coming up here now where he comes into his daughter and he starts eyeing her up, so he does. And she's a little bit suspicious because he starts acting all kind of wild and he's like, give me one of them cigarettes. And he's smoking on the cigarette. And there's a song playing on the radio and the song is Papa's got a brand new bag, so he does.
Yes.
And then she goes, you're acting a bit different, Dad. And he goes, yeah, well, you're going to notice some changes around here. He takes a long drag of his cigarette, and you hear a bit more of the song. And then he goes, Papa's got a brand new bag. Yeah. And I was like, oh, there now. He said it himself, so he did.
They didn't have to do it, but they did it. And that's what I like,
Bell and braces. I didn't have subtitles on when I watched this. I felt the movie was loud enough in its imagery that I didn't need any.
But hey, twist, Pollux is getting released for turning in evidence.
What?
He's getting released. But John as Nick, can't get out. He's stuck in the prison.
For 100 years as well.
I'm Sean Archer, let me out of here. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, is what he says. And it doesn't work.
Oh, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. But they switch all their faces.
But they've all got the wrong faces.
And you don't know who's who, and you don't know who's actually racist.
And Ant and Dec as well have done it. So you don't know which
they did that years ago. Seriously. You'll switch your room, mate. Like, come on. They're identical twins. Why wouldn't they do it?
Another fun trope that I like, whenever anyone swaps bodies somehow and inhabits someone else, he's kind of making fun of John Travolta's face. He's like, this hair, this nose, this ridiculous chin, am I right? I like that kind of gentle ribbing.
I mean, his chin does have cleavage. It is a unique chin. Yeah. I'll give it that. So he's going to live John Travolta's life. He's going to be an archer. He plans to defuse his own bomb and basically, give himself loads and loads of credit. And when he comes to defuse the bomb, he defuses the bomb in the most Nick Cage way possible as John Travolta, dancing.
Yeah, he's dancing. He does it with seconds to spare, and he activates one of Pollux's titty lady saying, you disarmed me on the screen after you've disarmed the bomb, because of course you'd have to have something like that, wouldn't you? If you disarm a bomb, you're going to see a cartoon booby lady.
Bit disappointed that was the bawdiest line you could come up with, like, "Oh, you disarmed me." Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying I expected more.
But Pollux maybe should have done his research and come up with something a bit more bawdy than that.
I don't know. I find that Bollock isn't a proper lad like the other guys in the gang.
No, but John brackets Nick brackets Castor is being interviewed on telly about defusing the bomb.
So confusing.
But this is broadcast into the prison where Nick brackets actually John is watching, and he says like, "Hey, if Castor Troy is watching this, I got a message for him. interception. Now our side's got the ball. I mean, this is... none of this makes any sense, but I love it.
What's his end game, Sam? Is he going to become the head of the FBI? Like, what does he want to do?
Maybe he just wants to live his life as John Travolta, and that's fine.
It's time for some romance, because it's date night, ladies and gentlemen. And I would say that Nick Cage is not remotely trying to be John Travolta, but John Travolta in this scene really, really, really goes above and beyond. There's something about him creepily seducing his not wife that is very Nick Cage.
Yes, I mean, the way this scene is shot, this kind of sexy making out pre-banging scene that we get here between a man and his wife, but the man is not actually the man that the wife thinks he is shot in a way that's it looks quite romantic, looks quite sensual, and when you think about what's happening... I don't know if it could be done in a kind of slow motion, black and white nightmare horror music way, really, because this is pretty grim.
Yeah, this is not accurately portraying the cuckolding process as it really should be, is it? Because it is a little bit romantic. And also, I will say as well, for the wife, Eve's perspective, it all happens a little bit too easy. And I'm not going to lie, I did turn to Joe and ask for assurances that this would not happen if some jamoke showed up with my face, that she just fall for it, hook, line, and fucking wink, wink, you know?
No, so, you'd know that your personality had completely changed. And also, right, I don't mean to be too lewd here, but that's Nick Cage's penis.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to the trouble of changing the penis, would you?
They could 3D print it. They went out of the way to show that they could make things like ears and stuff, so maybe he has a special willy jacket to put over it.
Do you think... I just get the sense, and I don't know where I've got this from, probably the porn parody. The penises, the genitals remain intact during this thing, so that's Nick Cage's knob and bollocks.
Mate, the porn parody of this, though, they'd probably just call it, like, Get Off or something like that.
Beat off. Like a bizarre scene, kind of horrible. Blech.
But hey, in the clink, Nick Cage has got problems of his own, because there's a big, mad prison magnet fight, and he wins the prisoner's approval quite quickly by being like, "Oh, I want to watch a cigarette!" And then he gets it, and they're like, "Yay, you're our hero now." And then he gets taken to the electro brain machine.
Yes.
And this bit was really, really weird and stupid. There's a prisoner who's hooked up to this, like, Total Recall looking motherfucking machine, and he's like, yeah, and he's got old chunky bits of sick all over himself. He's fucking covered like an and then he's like fine in a second, and he leads a fucking breakout with Nick Cage. What?
And this is the bloke whose wife Nick Cage shagged, but he manages to be like, "Hey mate, it's all right. Your wife loves you. Please help me out." And he does, and he prevents a few innocent guards from dying, but otherwise, he's caused some real chaos in this prison, despite the fact that
I wanted to point out, he does kill a lot of guards, and this is where John Woo struggles a little bit, because one scene he's like, I've got a vial of sulfuric acid, and I'm going to melt their faces off. And then the next second he's like, no, don't shoot those guards. They're just doing their jobs.
I'm still John Travolta.
I'm still John Travolta deep down. Pay no attention to my voice. But like, so they're showing him being like, if you scald someone with acid, that's a war crime as far as I'm concerned. You deserve severe punishment.
Yeah.
You don't get away with being the white hat cowboy, John Travolta.
Well, he does, because he manages to get out. He gets on top of a big helipad, he jumps into the water, everything's fine.
Now, we had two things in this scene that were not in the previous action scenes. Two very 1997 things. Firstly, 1997 guitar wail.
Yes. We haven't really talked about the music in this film much, but it's very good. It's exactly what you kind of expect it to be, which is daft.
And also, 1997 deep screen. That one, you know the one.
Yeah.
It's been used in fucking every video game that was on the N64. If it was a cartridge-based game, it had that was in there. Yep. Every movie, every cartoon, every advert, it was a law. Cocoa Pops, Crunchers, can you handle the crunch? It is very much the Wilhelm scream of the Angry Birds generation.
Yes, it is. Now, John, who is actually Nick, gets to go and visit John's dead son's grave. And I was trying to work out if Nick, brackets, as John, is actually genuinely saddened by this, or is touched by that, or is having any kind of emotion about the fact that this is a boy that he killed, and he's going to his grave with his wife to...
He just seems to be kind of like... His reaction is if I'm made to wait for a later train.
I couldn't read his reaction fully.
I mean, your bus got cancelled on the way to this recording. Like, that headspace, imagine. If you could take a snapshot, your face would have been similar to Travolta at that child's grave.
He's feeling something, but it's not, I killed this boy and I'm really sad.
He's not processing that, Sam, is what I know. Now, John Travolta... Now, Castor... It's hard. It's getting very difficult. Castor Troy is now meant to be dead because his shoes fell off and he jumped off the side of a prison. So he's fine.
Yes.
and very dry. Now, I want your expert analysis on this. Are they saying to you, because they very much did a close-up of his shoes catching fire and like burning and falling away, are they saying, oh, good thing his shoes came off because he's much able to swim to dry land then than if he had his big heavy shoes on him? Or am I just like thinking, no, they just expect you to believe he swam to shore from an offshore high security prison and is fine?
I don't know if it's like, well, he'll be fine without his shoes because here they are and they've gone, so he can swim now. I just think it doesn't matter to this film how he was able to swim to shore. It just matters that he did it.
So he decides he's going to punk out Nick Cage, ringing up on the phone. He's like, hey, you're living my life? Then I'm going to live your life. And straight away, he's setting up meetings with baddies and gangsters.
Yes. So, yeah, they talk on the phone for a brief second when he's trying to talk to his wife to say, the man you think your husband isn't your husband. And they do have a little chat. And he's on his way to the criminal headquarters where, oh boy, does everyone dress very badly.
These are criminals, Sam. They shouldn't be in any way looked up to, and their fashion sense is almost as corrupt as their morals. I do like the little touch that they gave him his collector's edition day one pre-order box with the special golden guns that he can hold up on the mantelpiece, and comes with all the special drugs as well. And I have on good authority, it's meant to come in a canvas bag that will be TBC released.
Yes. He's taking some of the drugs, right?
And he becomes more like Nick Cage when he takes the drugs.
Yes, and he has to try and be a dick about himself, John Travolta, but he is outwardly appearing as Nick Cage. This is very interesting when he's, having a go at himself and slagging himself off. And Sean Archer's a piece of shit. What a stupid dickhead. I hate him. I'd like to take his face off. I'd like to remove his face. His face is coming off.
And then someone is literally like, face off?
Off?
Face off.
Face off. Hot tub time machine. Take his face off. It's happening.
Now, there's a very special face that Nick Cage does here, which is his too many drugs face.
I can't do it. I can't.
It's a high intensity face. It's the type of face, unfortunately, does not translate into a podcast, but Sam was making the face there. I want you all to know.
Here's what I think. It kind of reads in a way as a smile, but it's not a smile. You know when animals look like they're smiling, but they're actually baring their teeth to show you that they can fucking kill you. That's the kind of thing it is. It's not a human look. It's an animalistic kind of freaking out, just acting on impulses. I'm just going to do this big...
Look, Sam, if you're in Nick Cage's body and he's got 3 extra rows of teeth, you might as well show them off.
No one but Nick Cage could do that face.
Yeah, I think they picked the right way to swap these characters around, because if that was John Travolta doing that, I would have stopped watching the movie. It would have been too upsetting for me. Now, Castor Troy has got some lessons to teach his not daughter. He beats up this ghoul who's after her, and then he's like, do you have protection? And she's like condoms? He's like, no, not like condoms, like this. And he takes out in slow motion a switchblade, and then he demos it in slow motion as well, which is great.
A very good line from Castor Troy as Sean here is, dress up like Halloween and ghouls will try and get in your pants.
I mean, that's...
I don't think that's true.
No.
But I love the use of ghouls.
Ghouls.
Dress up like Halloween, and ghouls will try and get in your pants. Ghouls, mate.
And we get a brief stab tutorial that was roughly as long as the tutorial on how to speak like Castor Troy. So,
Zap, zap.
Snap, snap. It's a double twist. That's you do. You can't stop the bleeding that way then. So, there you go. We learned something with this movie. Erstwhile, John has got problems in bed with his not wife. So, it's kind of... Well, she's not his wife. She's his, lover, Sasha. So, she's got a son who he refers to as a nice-looking kid. And then it's surprise twist. It's actually Castor Troy's son, but I've never told you who I believe is Castor Troy, but Castor Troy still doesn't know.
But he gets weird and is hugging the boy and saying his actual dead son's name. So he's... John Travolta, Sean Archer, is getting emotional inhabiting Castor Troy, seeing this boy and, realising that there's a child involved in all of this, and it's
of course,
it's a bit
dead
much
giveaway. He touches the child's face immediately. That's Archer behaviour if I ever saw it.
He can't stop himself.
I'll tell you what, I feel so sorry for that boy with that haircut. I'd say it's like they got a bowl and did it around, but it looks like it was one of a particularly high or tall bowl that you don't like to eat from because you put your spoon in and it pushes your Cocoa Pops out. So it looks like this boy has got the worst run of luck in the hairpiece department.
Yeah, maybe he should go and see that doctor and get his hair taken off and replaced with different hair off.
That would be a fun movie.
Yeah?
Wait, that was a Simpsons did a parody of... Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there's a big kind of raid going on at the evil headquarters.
And all the police have got electric guitars because they pull out the guns and it's like... And everyone's dying
At this point, I was kind of struggling to remember who's who and who's on whose side during this particular action sequence. I was like, there's police and there's baddies, and I don't know which is which or who belongs to who or who's trying to help
who. Have you ever played a game, though, where it's like a shoot 'em up or kind of a game where it like this, the main focus is on wave after wave of enemies? And do you kind of think, who are these people and what are their motivations and where their affiliations lie?
Doesn't matter. Bang, 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 bang.
Bang, 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 bang. You see a Goomba, you pop him before he pops you. A Goomba would kill you and your entire family if he had half the option to,
We get the kind of juxtaposition of music because there's a little boy with headphones on in the middle of this massive gunfight. We get Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing during this mad chaos, and it's quite beautiful.
John Woo. That's almost an inappropriate song to use. It's so different from its source material.
What are you playing at, Woo? That's not the right music for this scene. But in a way it is.
Oh, have you seen The Wizard of Oz?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, man, wait till you find out the twist. It's fucking mental.
I imagine the gunfights in that are off the chain, mate. But
not much slow-mo, though, in Wizard of Oz, The
baddie bald bloke gets in the way as Nick, brackets John, as Castor Troy tries to shoot the kid, but it's his kid. He's trying to shoot it, but the bald bloke gets in the way and takes a bullet for the kid.
You do feel kind of sad when all of these baddies die, don't you?
Yeah, because I can't tell who's actually that bad and who isn't.
Just more bodies, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, a really beautiful moment here, playing off some of the old classical tropes, but showing that John Woo is definitely a 21st century director. John tries to catch Nicolas Cage in an atrium of mirrors.
Yes.
Not a hall of mirrors, an atrium of mirrors.
Yes, there's a lot of mirror stuff going on, which is very apropos, very germane to the situation, because they have each other's faces, and what is the self, Who is...
I was worried they were accidentally just going to turn the gun, he'd be like, it's Nick Cage. He turns the gun and shoots himself in the head, careful there, Nick, you'll get you.
But thankfully there's just explosions out of the wazoo.
Because all the FBI agents have got the fucking... They've got the assault rifles from Half-Life with the grenade launcher as the secondary fire. It's so overkill.
Pollux gets smashed through a glass roof, multiple angles of him falling down. He's dead, he's gone.
I could watch glass like that smash forever.
Yeah, I love smashing glass in slow-mo.
Because I know some people hate the noise of smashing glass. It's really because I've mentioned before...
I'll tell you who doesn't, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Imagine that every time you get anxious when he comes out. That's why he looked so surly when he walked out. It was because he had to hear that awful noise. If I had entrance music that had a coarse brush on a wet pavement beforehand,
Very funny thing here is that one of the policemen, when Pollux is dead, and the policeman thinks he's talking to John Travolta, says, "Sir, why are you so upset? It's just Pollux Troy."
Oh!
And then he gets shot for his trouble, because obviously that's actually Castor Troy in there.
In a very ludicrous moment.
He ties his dead brother's shoelaces, and it's quite sweet.
Oh, no, I meant after that, where he gets named Times Man of the Year. Local psychopath earns trust of community.
I mean, I think maybe at this point, or slightly later, I just kind of lost track of what was really happening and just sort of absorbed the kind of colours and shapes and noises of what this film was and kind of let it sort of wash over me.
I tell you what, I was in a similar headspace to you there at this point in the movie, and then all I did was, and I did actually pause this movie once while watching.
No.
I just flicked up the time stamp on it, and I saw, right, we've got around half an hour left.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little bit of downtime, then we're going to get into a roughly 20 to 25 minute action sequence. So I was kind of like not caring as much about the fine details of the plot, other than the fact that I did glean that Castor Troy, as Archer, has been going around and just killing all the drug dealers, and his boss is like, "You can't be going around doing all these Gestapo tactics, you're just killing everyone." And then he karate chops him and gives him knowing glances until he has a heart attack.
Yeah, so he's killed the supervisor, he's gone.
But did you notice that he literally looked at him in the eye, and then the guy like held his heart and was like, "Uh-oh, I'm gonna die now."
Well, that's what looking at John Travolta does to you, if you just look him right in the eyes.
It's why no one went to see Goatee, like, you know?
If he'd have said the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem, that would have given me a heart attack.
Yeah, no, and he would have looked at you saying, "I'm going to say it now," and then you would have held on to your heart, and then the wickedly talented
one and only Adele Dazeem. So, John Travolta's wife is now kind of... She is suspicious...
Yeah.
That John is not John and he's Nick, and she sort of is kind of confused by it. But John, brackets, Castor Troy, comes back, but she nabs some of his blood to do a test because Nick at John Archer, God, Jesus Christ, has come in and said, like, you know, this is not, I'm your husband.
I love the bit where he goes, "Ignore my face. Ignore my voice."
No, don't look at it. Don't look at my face. Yeah. And said, like, "That's not me. This is me. All right, see ya. I'm going to go away for a bit now."
And then we get the results. Bam. Turns out 100% Nick Cage. I was really hoping that she was going to...
It is not your husband!
Hey! I was hoping she'd look at it under the microscope and the blood cells would be like, "Rah! Rah! I'm oxidizing!" You know, something like that. But no, it was just a nice printout on the screen. That's fine.
I loved Nick Cage crying and explaining the plot of the film to his wife, by the way.
And touching her face at the same time.
Yeah. Which
is, if you're going to describe the plot of Face Off to your loved one this pandemic season, please don't touch their face.
And his long round the houses story about taking a vegetarian out for surf and turf, and she ate bread and she broke her tooth on a rye seed, and then a drunk dentist fixed the wrong tooth, and then by the time that was a story about her, right? He's talking about meeting his wife and hanging out with his wife, and this is a story that only he would know.
I'm just going to say, I don't mean to date shame, but that's a shit date.
Well, yeah, surf and turf with a vegetarian, and you get your tooth broken, and you get the wrong tooth fixed.
You do want a level of inconvenience.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You want something to
on any date.
Yes, something that goes slightly wrong, but it's be very, like, for instance, Joe and I, the first time I went to her house, I broke her lawn furniture. I literally sat down, broke it, but then she kissed me immediately because she felt bad for me.
Well, yeah.
So that's the right amount of awkward.
You played a bloody blinder there, mate. I think you were there before, just like sawing the chair.
Mate, 6 years later, she's still not asked for a refund on that lawn furniture. So it's going smooth, don't worry.
Your quid's in. So she accepts that, okay, you are my husband, even though you look like Nick Cage. You're going to have to make it up to me, but I know that it's you, okay? I get it.
You've gotten some brownie points for telling me this. It's okay.
Yes. But John... brackets Castor Troy has come to the hospital,
and he's also director of the FBI now.
Hey, lovely slow motion shot of Nick Cage walking up a beach with seagulls everywhere, fucking beautiful. I love it. Give me that. Inject that into my veins.
This movie really made me start considering a seaside funeral for myself. Normally before I was thinking, just put me in a box in the ground where I can grow a tree, but I don't know, if you can put me in a sand dune that can grow some marram grass, I might be down with that as well.
Yeah, seagulls flying everywhere at your funeral, pooping on people. I'd love it.
I feel that it would unite the mourners who will be from various places against the seagulls, and that would be what I would want on my funeral. a common enemy.
Hey, Kevin, do you like a Mexican standoff?
I do. I also like a Mexican face-off as well.
Yes, because that's what we get here. A whole bunch of people turn up and start pointing guns at each other because the two men, the titular Mr. Face and Johnny Off, are here pointing guns at each other. But also...
I counted 7 guns in this scene, by the way, being pointed.
Sasha's here.
Yeah.
The wife Eve is here.
Yes, and the daughter is here as well now. She's been held captive.
Guns are everywhere. Apparently, Castor Troy didn't mean to kill Sean Archer's son. Why did he have to take it all so seriously, man? Come on, I meant to kill you, not your son. Get over it.
Come on, I thought you'd be more annoyed that I tried to kill you, you know?
And then while they're trying to explain this whole thing to Sasha... And also the daughter, and I think everyone.
Yeah, the audience.
But to Sasha, he's like, I'm Castor, that's Archer. And Sasha chips in and says, and I'm bored. And wants to just shoot people because this is silly.
Sasha is the audience here. We're like, we're bored. Shoot things.
Just shoot stuff. And let me tell you, they do. Because bang, 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 big shots everywhere.
Sam, was it right to call this... I don't like using this phrase. This is a phrase that was used a lot very much like 3 years ago, where it's like, oh... That's a nice bit of rugby porn. Oh, you know, the old great ravioli picture, ravioli porn.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that if anything was remotely good, it's porn. Like, you're going to have some breakfast porn in the morning. Yes, I'm having eggs. I'm very excited. It's like pornography. Now, but this was gun porn.
This was gun porn.
Because I don't like guns. I have no attraction to guns. But I'm not going to lie. They made guns out to be the fucking sexiest, coolest thing in this sequence. And I don't know why the frequent shots to Mary, Mother of Jesus, and Jesus, Son of Mary were so necessary, but it enhanced the atmos for sure.
It made this standoff and all this violence feel like an almost religious experience. You know, it had a...
Mate, if that's what it was like at church, then I would have been going every Sunday to mass.
If they had those golden guns in church, you'd get a lot more teen boys showing up.
No, all we had were golden chalices. Yawn.
So Sasha dies. Take care of our boy.
It's sad that she dies before the Uzis come into play, because those are the most fun gun, at least according to this movie. Lots of that. And then there's the great trope here. Excellent. Shoot him, but I'm your father. No, I'm not. I'm your father. Which one is my dad? Because I want to actually shoot my dad, so I need to know, you know?
And she shoots, and I'm going to try and remember this, one of them.
She shoots her actual dad.
She shoots her actual dad.
She shoots her actual dad, and then her fake dad then licks her.
Yes.
See, that's the difference. That's how you could have told. You could have said, right then, which one of you is my dad? Show affection. Travolta would have done the hand face. And
Nick would have done the lick.
And he wouldn't hang on now. That's not what we do here.
Lickorless Cage, I call him, because he... he loves to lick.
Someone has got to Photoshop a lick-a-tongue with Nicolas Cage's eyes.
But she manages to escape from her fake father using the knife that was given to her by her fake father as a protection. So
and she does the twist as well. So you taught her well. And then we've had everything, Sam. We've had a car chase a plane chase a building, men chase men.
Nowhere left for us to go.
Nowhere left to go. Excuse me, get your boat license, because it's speed chase.
Speedboat City, baby.
I've not seen a good speedboat chase in a long old time.
No, and oh boy, a speedboat bursting through another boat, causing a big explosion. Yes, thank you very much. I'll have that, and save some for later. For me afters, because I want more of that, because it's so delicious.
And I'll tell you what as well, that boat was full of fireworks also, because he was bringing in the illegal fireworks because it hits it like, oh no, the boat's gonna explode. That's my Roman candle impression.
It's a good one.
Thank you.
I like it, yeah. I think as a boat was ploughing through another boat, splitting the boat in two, and then exploding the boat, I think that was the point that my brain kind of oozed out of me, and sort of left my body.
Do you want to see what I've written here on my notes?
Boom, blam, smash. Yeah, so just, that's what's happening here.
We descended into 60s Batman sound effects territory with the note-taking here, folks. I'm afraid I didn't have much more to offer you.
But if you just sit and you watch...
And if you close your eyes, you'll miss the big action, don't!
If you open your eyes, you will see... a whole load of big boat explosions, chases. You'll see Nicolas Cage being dragged alongside a boat by a chain, and he kind of water skis.
That looks fun. I want to do that.
With his feet, just with his shoes. They have a fight on a speedboat. The speedboat is speeding while they're punching each other on the boat, on like the deck of the boat, the front of the boat.
Also, as well, very John Woo. They're both wearing plain black suits.
Oh yes, looks great. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
I don't know how much of the stunt work these guys did, but I will say, I mean, we rarely have a chance to talk about stunt work on this podcast, but the fucking wire work, the seamlessness of the stunt people looking like who they're meant to look like, this was fucking expert.
Although there was one shot when the boat kind of crashes into the shore, the two of them get launched off into the air, and as they're kind of falling down onto the ground, you do see two stuntmen who don't really look like their parts. But that's just one shot where I can see their faces, and this is me watching in HD quality in the year of our Lord 2020. So I don't think you can blame them too much.
I just say for the amount of slow-mo that is in this, it's a miracle we didn't see more of that.
But it's just super concentrated action here that we're getting. We get a fight on the shore with big steel pipes.
It's a harpoon, baby.
And shivs and harpoons. And then John brackets Castor Troy starts trying to cut his own face up / off.
It's the name of the movie!
And he gets a harpoon through the torso.
No, here's a question, because I want to know if this read for you or not.
Yeah.
When John Travolta dies and Nick Cage screams, "Die!" and he absolutely does. The way he lies, did that remind you of anything?
No, should it have done?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I've not done my job as a good Catholic, because he died slumped up exactly like Jesus. Like, even
was he doing the...
Yeah, he did the exact arms out. He slumped his head in the same way. He had the same... You know that fucking face he... He's...
Yeah, no, I remember it. Yeah.
It's the really upset crucifixion face that he's got on him there.
Yeah.
And he's also got the bit of blood coming down like he's wearing a crown of thorns.
But what does any of that symbolism actually mean?
That what? Fucking Nicolas Cage, Castor Troy is
Jesus?
Jesus? Or you're either saying Jesus is really rotten or Castor Troy is really great, and I have a problem with both of those, as both a Castor Troy hater and a Jesus respecter.
But hey, Kevin, good news, because that surgeon who seemed to be the only one who could do this stuff, he's not the only one who could do this stuff. They've got a top team from DC to come and fix him up.
Now, were you surprised? I mean, because we've done a lot of action movies, and stuff from Ghostbusters to Arnie stuff, and you have the big kabooms, the big finale, and then there's a degree of fallout at the end of here's things going back to normal. Da, da, da. Were you surprised the severe brevity the aftermath was given?
Well, a little bit, yeah, but I did really love it. So what happens is he gets fixed up. He doesn't want his scar put him back because he's accepted what happened to his son and he's moved on. And he comes back to his home, to his wife and his daughter, as beautiful John Travolta. And you have to see it. If you haven't seen this, the slow motion shot of him turning up at the door with his big John Travolta face.
It's like when they come in to visit Frodo in Return of the King.
And he just it's me, John Travolta.
And also, because
such a funny face.
When he comes in, there's all this light bathing in, and I think they wanted to make it look very angelic and heavenly, but the white light makes it look like he's walking in from the legitimate smog and fog of Silent Hill. It's like he's come out of their nightmares to get them. And also, we have a new boy. Let's all touch each other's faces.
The whole family rubbing hands all over each other. We've adopted this boy now.
One of us.
Daughter's doing the thing to the boy, everyone's touching the boy, and
and also there's a big zoom in on the daughter to be like, and she's not doing any of that anymore.
Yes, she's not a goth anymore.
Well, Sam, Face Off, a movie which, admittedly, there was a little bit in confusion in recapping.
It's hard to explain, but I think you get a sense of the feelings that we felt watching this.
And the feelings that you felt were? Elation?
A kind of brainless joy.
Yeah.
Just an enjoyment of a feature film. A real blockbuster that you can just let happen.
A ring-a-ding-dong dandy of a blockbuster.
Yeah, this is very sugary and sweet, but not nice, not in a nice way. But you can just eat a lot of this and just feel all full and giddy and get a sugar rush and run around.
I would say like it's a violent movie, but it doesn't like revel in the gore or the violence itself. It's so I mean, you can make the argument that it sanitizes it too much. Like people get shot and there's like there's no like blood or heads exploding or anything like that.
It kind of makes it makes the chaos and the violence. It always makes it look very beautiful and glamorous.
I just want to go kill some people now. How about you, right?
Almost choreographed and nice and interesting and exciting, and it's a very well shot film. It knows exactly what it's doing, and what it's doing is making a proper bloody action film. It doesn't really worry too much about the fact that this doesn't make a whole ton of sense.
It's a knee slapper.
It knows that this is going to be confusing, and I think in the hands of any other two actors, this would be more of a confusing affair. It is still confusing at times, because you can't really fully sell yourself on the idea that they've changed and that one is the other. It's not 100% convincing.
It doesn't help that one performance is slightly stronger than the other. I don't know about you, but I feel that Travolta steals the show.
Travolta as Cage.
This is another swirl for an actor where I feel the actor has been a little bit outshone, and I think Nick Cage, I never thought it was possible in a million years, but Nick Cage haunting John Travolta doesn't count as him doing a performance.
No.
And he's a lot more imitatable, I think. And, I think obviously he had a lot more to work with, Travolta, than Nick Cage did.
But, I mean, both are very good. This is utterly mad.
Is it perfect?
Kind of.
Because I mean, like in its own standards for its own type of movie, it is without fault.
So, yes, I mean, if you're looking for action film.
Full stop. It's just action,
It doesn't get too serious.
It doesn't get too funny
silly.
either. Yeah, it doesn't try to make you laugh, because so many... when someone says, I want a dumb action movie, you end up watching an action comedy, an action movie that fills the lulls between action with laughs. And this fills the lulls between action with ridiculous melodrama and like absolute over-the-top slow motionness.
This is very sincere, earnest, massive, bombastic fucking action. This is like, this is what, this is like a almost wish fulfillment kind of teenager fantasy of what a film should be like.
Here's a question. When you watched it, did you laugh at any points?
Yeah, sometimes, but that was mostly at the faces of some of the actors, mainly John Travolta's face I found very funny.
Because I have a feeling that if you went to see a screening of this with John Woo, the director, and most people would laugh at this movie, and that there were times with the explosions and during the speedboat chase where I just started laughing because of the absurdity of it all.
It's ridiculous.
But I don't know if John Woo would be happy with a room full of people laughing at his over-the-top action that I'm sure he believes is very nuanced and choreographed and balanced perfectly.
I don't think necessarily he thinks this is a deadly serious film, but it's this is action, and that has its own inherent stupidity and silliness.
Yeah. They don't make them like this anymore, let's just say.
No. I mean, I haven't seen things like John Wick, but I get a sense that's a bit darker than this, maybe.
Oh, John Wick is every other... I don't care what anyone says, every other moment John Wick is knowingly trying to make you laugh. It is like that. I'm not saying that as a fault, it's just a fact as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think this is resistant to the idea of it being almost like a parody, but it is just... This film feels like it has belief in itself.
Yeah, this is the thing that people parody. It itself is not to the point of parody. It is the most fertile ground of a field to make your parody crops grow, and your satires as well.
But it has every trope in it.
Yeah,
it has all the stuff
every single one
has either come from films prior or has since been regurgitated in film and video game ad nauseum. It's a culmination of a whole bunch of stuff all shoved into one big concentrated ball that you just gobble down.
I would say whole genres of games wouldn't exist without this. Never mind the movies, but like
No.
I think of like we joked about Max Payne, but I think of like Max Payne and Uncharted and all the third-person action games that feel like the set piece that drives them is all coming from the DNA of a movie like this. Like I know John Woo has done loads of other movies. Obviously, this is his big Hollywood piece. He's got lots of other movies from other parts of the world. So I don't know if you'd ever want to watch more of John Woo's stuff, because I know we went into this being Nicolas Cage swirl, but I feel like you may have taken a bit more of that away.
It's a film that has a stated intention, and it goes for it.
Would you watch it again?
Yes, I think I would. And I would know that I wouldn't have to concentrate as hard as I did.
Yeah. You could really get some Stardew done when you're watching this next.
Yeah. I can have this on in the background, kind of, and just let it all kind of unfold and still have a good time. And that I can rarely say that for some films, that I would watch it again and be able to just enjoy it.
To zone out and just enjoy it ambiently. Like.
And that's not to say that there's no content to it or that you shouldn't pay attention to it, because you should. But okay, so I'm trying to think of this in terms of genre, right? I'm not comparing this to every other film that we've ever done. I'm thinking about this as an action film that wants to be an action film. What is wrong with this? Very little, if nothing. It's a bit confusing, maybe, but that's part of it.
I mean, even by 1990s standards, you have a few like cool like female characters in it, which I know we griped about in a lot of other action movies at the time. But I thought Sasha was a pretty cool character. Got to do some cool stuff. Had some cool sassy lines.
I mean, there's faults you could find in it
with a modern lens, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, oh boy,
Sam, is this your thesis on why you're going to give this a very big rating? Because I feel like you're setting us up here.
You can see what's coming. I think you know what's happening here.
Not to bury the lead.
It's an action film, and it hits it out of the fucking park as an action film. And the performances are great, and I loved it. I had a great time. I really enjoyed myself. So, Kevin, I'm going to be giving Face Off 5 star wipes, mate. It's a 5-star wipe Bobby Dazzler. Fuck it, it's happening.
You heard it here first.
Hey, thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, it was edited by me, Sam, and the music was also by me. If you want to support the show directly and get access to our monthly bonus show, Cinema Swirl, patreon.com/Cinema Swirl is the way to go. If you want to follow us on the socials, we're at Cinema Swirl on Twitter and facebook.com/Cinema Swirl on Facebook. If you have any questions, queries, comments, or other stuff for the mailbag, then please send them on in to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to friends or leaving reviews on whichever podcast thing you use. Hey, we're now on Spotify as well. If that's your preference, you can head over to Spotify and search for Cinema Swirl. Alright, see you next time. Bye.